name's Matthew Homer. I'm the recycling manager for Islington Council. My job involves getting businesses and householders in Islington to recycle more and to reduce their waste as much as possible. We offer a range of recycling services to residents in the borough in particular. All of the recyclables and the food and garden waste is collected on single vehicles with a split compartment. The food and garden waste goes in one compartment and the recyclable material goes into the other compartment. The mixed recyclables are taken to the depot here in Hornsey Street in Islington, and it's bulked up and taken away to a facility in Greenwich run by a company called Veolia. What they do is to sort the material into paper, cardboard, plastic, cans, glass to be made into new recycled products. Their job is to find the best markets. Some of the material is sold into markets in the UK, some of the materials are in Europe, and some of them are further overseas in the Far East and in China, and plastic in particular tends to end up in China. Basically the materials have to go to the places in the world that make the goods that you and I buy, and China exports vast quantities of goods back to the UK for us to purchase. The organic material has a slightly smaller closed loop. The material is again brought to Hornsey Street here for bulking up and then taken to what's called an in-vessel composting facility, which is based at Edmonton in North London. It's about a 30,000 tonne per annum facility, and the material that comes out of there complies with a basic national composting quality standard called PAS 100, which means that you and I can use it in our back gardens and it can be used for a range of industrial uses. We've had a number of loads of this compost being brought back to green space areas within Islington. It gets sent to allotments, and it also gets used for a range of industrial uses, including land capping material for landfill sites.
How could I get my hands on some of that compost?
If you contact the North London Waste Authority, they will be able to make arrangements for skip loads of compost to be delivered to you. Well, we had a target a couple of years ago of reaching 18% recycling. We're now recycling around 28% of all of our household waste, largely through the efforts of residents in Islington.
Where are you in the league table of London boroughs?
We're about average. For the inner London boroughs, I think Islington is doing extremely well, and it certainly is one of the most improved boroughs in inner London over the last couple of years. Many residents in high-rise properties do participate in recycling at the moment. We offer a door-to-door collection service to around about 23,000 households living on high-rise flats, and we've also recently introduced recycling using chute systems in 6 blocks. What we've done is to convert one of those chutes for recycling, so that recycling for those residents now is as easy as disposing of their refuse.
There's a rocket project in the EC1 area. Is your department involved in that?
We are involved with that, and that's in fact how the chute systems originally came about. But there are 2 blocks in the south of the borough which have door-to-door collections of food waste, and that material is taken to what's called a rocket system. It's a small, compact food waste composting facility that's based in the basement of one of the blocks of flats. Islington Council is committed to carrying on that facility during this current year while we establish whether or not this system is a model for expansion across other parts of the borough. For properties on estates, what we want to see whether there was a more localised option where the local residents could get more involved. The residents know that their material is being composted on their estate, and the material that comes out of there is actually being used on their estate to improve the grounds.
How many of the residents don't recycle at all?
We're in the process of doing some what's called participation rate monitoring at the moment, because we do need to find this out. We think that for the green box service, we think participation is around 70 or 80%, which is exceptionally good. For the food waste collection service, it is a lot lower. The majority of residents who could use this service, unfortunately, are not. And one of our focuses over the next year or so will be to promote the food waste service, get people to understand the importance of it, how it contributes to climate change and so on, and why it's so important, of course, to reduce the amount of food waste that you generate in the first place.
What is Islington's approach to non-recyclers in the future?
There's currently no formal policy within Islington Council to introduce a compulsory recycling service. Our approach is to educate people, to encourage people, and as a last resort we may consider enforcement, but that is not something that we're going down the line of at the moment. We don't use wheelie bins in Islington, and we're certainly not using chips. The North London Waste Authority controls the waste transfer station, which is where the refuse vehicles come in to tip. Islington Council actually runs the Household Reuse and Recycling Centre, which is where we are at the moment, which is the facility for residents to come along and recycle their bulky waste. They come up the ramp, up here, under the barrier here, go around, reverse into the parking bays and then unload their waste into the appropriate compartment. There's a sign in front of each of the skips that show you what goes in. So this one here, for example, is scrap metal, as you can see from the sign there. Then we have garden waste. The blue one is for paper. Here we have the reuse, the furniture reuse area, and plastics and timber. Refuse vehicles come in, they tip into the appropriate bay. The recycling vehicles come in here as well, and there are bays for the combing of recyclables, there are bays for the organic food and garden waste.
Yep.
There are some other bays for cardboard and paper and so on from separately collected materials. And there are also 7 chutes which go down into large compactors for the refuse. It is quite a big building, but it's very, very compact and very tight, and there isn't actually as much room as we'd like. I think people have an extremely positive attitude to recycling in Islington because we provide comprehensive, easy to use and reliable services, and the feedback we get from residents over and over again is about how much the recycling services have improved over the last few years, and that's demonstrated by the fact that our recycling rate has increased almost threefold in the same number of years. The residual waste that's put out for disposal by householders goes to landfill. Islington Council is a waste collection authority. We have responsibility for collecting waste from households. The responsibility for disposing of that waste lies with the North London Waste Authority, which is a statutory body responsible for disposing of waste from 7 boroughs in the north of London. And there's an energy from waste facility at Edmonton. They also have a number of contracts for landfill. It just so happens that the waste from Islington generally goes to landfill sites, whereas much of the waste from other boroughs goes to the incinerator. At the moment, it's up to residents to make a choice as to whether they recycle or not. We don't force anybody to recycle, encourage them to do their bit to take responsibility for climate change.
Have you got any other initiatives that you're encouraging people to reduce waste?
So we've got a website called the Swap Exchange, which is a little bit like eBay, but it's free. If you have goods, furniture, anything really that you want to get rid of and you want to swap with somebody else or just give away, you can go on the Swap Exchange website and exchange it for something. And the students go home, they get rid of an amazing amount of very usable equipment and goods that they have no further use for. And we arrange for that material to be taken away and reused. So we're really trying to put the emphasis this year in particular on waste minimisation. But it's far more important, if you can, to try and compost that material at home, and we provide subsidised compost bins and also subsidised wormeries. We encourage parents to put their babies in washable nappies. Disposable nappies take up something around 3 or 4% of the entire waste stream in this country, and will still be sitting in landfill sites when their children's children are having their own children. So we're just trying to encourage parents to use washable nappies, and we provide a subsidy for that, and there are laundry services that people can use to make that much, much easier than it ever used to be. We're doing what we can on plastic bags. We're actually supporting the Newington Green Action Group at the moment, who have made it their responsibility to make Newington Green plastic bag free, and we're hoping to have a big event with them this summer to launch Newington Green as a plastic bag free environment. We hand out thousands and thousands of reusable cotton shopping bags every year to people across the borough, and we're going to have various events around the borough this year to try and promote that message. The Islington Council would have, say, very little influence over the way that Sainsbury's and Tesco's and the other supermarkets package their goods, in that around 30 to 40% of all of the packaging, even now in supermarkets, is not recyclable. And the message there really is that it's up to the consumer, the shopper, to be responsible about what you're buying. Choose goods that are packaged with materials that you know you can recycle, that it's better to buy locally, to source locally, to try to get organic food if you can, and if you're shopping at supermarkets, which of course everybody does, I do, try to be responsible about what you're buying and look at the packaging and say, no, I'm not going to buy that because I don't like the way that you packaged it.